This might trigger some people, but what if these boulders are hiding an impossible secret? Look closely at the shapes. Do you honestly think these are just natural formations? Or do you see evidence of something artificial? Look at this one. Is that a cave? What about this? Wait, look at the edges here. This one is so precise. It looks like it was designed with artificial intelligence. And that's exactly where I'm standing right now. No, this isn't a digital effect, and it's definitely not a green screen. What you're looking at is a 360-degree mirror made of solid granite rock. Look at this. My reflection is on the left. You can see the real me in the center, and it's mirrored on the right. But wait, the magic is not over yet. Did you see my head getting reflected on the top of the doorway? But it gets better. Wait for it. You see that? Even the ceiling in the cave is throwing my image back at me, completely inverted. You would swear this was a high-tech bunker polished yesterday with heavy industrial machinery, right? Wrong. This isn't 1,000 years old. It's not even 2,000 years old. Even by mainstream archaeological accounts, this cave was built in 230 BC, centuries before the birth of Christianity. But where is this located? In Israel? No. In Iran? No. This is in the heart of India, in the state of Bihar, and it is a massive glitch in our history books. How did ancient builders create an advanced artificial laboratory like this in the middle of nowhere? This was created at least 2,200 years ago. Why choose such a remote, desolate location? Were they hiding from the world, or were they conducting experiments with sound and light that were too dangerous for the public? Think about it. Why go to this much trouble for a simple cave? But what if this cave is just the beginning? What if there are more secret chambers hiding right under our noses? Look at the overgrowth here. Is that an entrance? And what about this opening? Is this another chamber hiding in plain sight? But there is a second chamber tucked deep into this crevice, just a few feet away. It is so well hidden, you could walk past it 1,000 times and never know it was there. Mainstream experts insist that sunlight was the essential tool for ancient carvers to see what they were doing. But look at this. If sunlight was so vital, why build here? This crevice creates a permanent shadow. Sunlight never directly enters this chamber. So how did ancient builders create such a masterpiece while working in darkness? They must have used some kind of artificial light source. Did ancient builders use a lighting technology that is completely unknown to us today? But before I take you inside, look at the material. This is raw, unyielding granite. It is so jagged and abrasive that if I rubbed my hand against it, it would tear my skin. I can feel the burn on my skin right now. This rock is the last thing on earth you would expect to reflect light. Think about this. Can this rough granite reflect this piece of paper? If I told you I could turn this rough granite into a high-definition mirror without using machines, you would laugh at me. And on top of that, if I told you this surface could reflect this piece of paper, you would think I had lost my mind. But look at this. Step inside the chamber with me. This is unbelievable. It is the same paper on the same granite, yet you can see the reflection. How is it possible to transform that jagged rock into this liquid smooth finish? Be honest, do you think they achieved this with pickaxe and hand polishing? Or did they use advanced technology more than 2,000 years ago? Again, this cave also reflects me on the left, on the right, and even at the top. Look at that strange, distorted reflection, because this ceiling is acting like a concave mirror. This is not the first cave. Notice the rock behind me. This is the second chamber in the crevice. You might think I'm just showing you the best spot near the doorway. But look, I can go to any corner of this cave and the reflection is perfect. And it's not because of my flashlight. Even with the flashlight off, in darkness, the walls still find a way to catch my image. How is it possible to have such a reflection in a place where the sun never shines? This chamber seemingly defies every law of light and shadow. If these walls can manipulate light with this much precision, what do they do to sound? Have you ever stopped to ask why they went to this much trouble to polish these chambers? There is a secret purpose here that mainstream science is ignoring. I've conducted a series of acoustic experiments using ancient sound techniques inside these two caves, and the results are so disturbing and so incredible that I cannot post them here in public. I've just uploaded the full uncensored footage to our members-only community. You're going to be shocked by how the sound literally takes on a life of its own inside these walls. Click the join button right now to see the experiments that prove these caves are not just structures, they are machines. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. Sound behaves completely differently in this cave than it did in the first one. Why? Because these two structures are different. They're structurally engineered to produce two opposite effects. In fact, look at this specific wall. Do you see anything strange here? I'll reveal that secret in just a minute. But first, look at this chamber. Does this look ancient to you? Or am I showing you a high-tech structure built yesterday with industrial machines? According to mainstream archaeology, this cave was also carved in 230 BC, centuries before the modern world even began. And the local name for these caves? The Nagarjuni Caves. There it is again. The Naga connection to ancient mysteries. Did Nagas, the ancient reptile gods, engineer these advanced acoustic chambers? Now, are these two caves identical, or are they different from each other? See how this doorway looks? But let's go back to the previous cave. Look at this entrance here. This is extraordinary. I've shown you hundreds of ancient Indian structures, but have you ever seen anything like this? A slanted 3D trapezoid carved on the rock face, and inside the big trapezoid, a smaller straight trapezoid doorway is carved. Very high-tech. This looks straight out of a science fiction movie. But the real secret is hiding inside the cave. Look at these lines. Right at the top, you can see a perfect geometric arc. There's a line that goes vertically on the y-axis, and there's a line that goes horizontally on the x-axis. And these two lines and the arc meet at a single point. This level of engineering is only possible with precision instruments. Let's follow this horizontal line. It's hair thin. Look at how it's cut. So sharp, so precise. It's almost microscopic. Do you think this was achieved with primitive tools? If you saw a modern luxury kitchen countertop today with this exact mirror finish and this level of mathematical detail, would you believe it was made with a hammer and a chisel? No way. Yet, mainstream experts insist that's exactly how it was done 2,200 years ago. Is that the truth? Or are we looking at evidence of advanced machining technology that has been erased from our history? But it gets even more bizarre because the other cave surpasses this engineering and architecture. Remember, I told you they've done something very, very strange with the second cave? In the second chamber, we can see a true architectural anomaly. It does not even have a horizontal line. It has no ceiling birth line. This means that in this cave, they went further. They've made a half sphere, a hemisphere, and merged it with the wall, even without the horizontal line. In the previous cave, the walls were straight and only the ceiling was curved. But here, the walls are the curve. The walls are also a part of the hemisphere. Only near the entrance do we see the y-axis lines and the straight lines for the doorway. But if you look at the far end of the cave, from the top to the bottom, everything is curved. Do you see a vertical line? See, even the y-axis is missing. It feels like I'm standing inside a firmament made of extraterrestrial material. This is an extraordinary feat of 3D geometry that would challenge our best CNC machines today. How did ancient builders calculate a perfectly uniform dome carved into solid, unyielding granite? Did you notice that I never called these cave temples? Look closely at these two chambers. There are 0 religious carvings, 0 statues, and 0 paintings. So, what was their actual purpose? And why build them with such a low ceiling? At just 7 feet tall, I can literally reach up and touch the top. But look at the ceiling itself. It's quite reflective, polished to a flawless glass finish. Mainstream experts argue this polishing was done by hand, that ancient builders simply rubbed sand and emery against the granite until it shined. But think about the physics. If you're polishing a ceiling, gravity is your enemy. Every grain of sand, every bit of abrasive powder, and every sharp fragment of granite would fall straight down into the eyes and nose of the worker. Were ancient people really lying on their backs, blinded by a rain of toxic stone dust for years? Were they truly working against gravity with primitive abrasives? Or is the mirror finish on the ceiling proof that they were using a technology we still don't understand? But what really bothers me is not the trapezoidal cuts or even the polishing. It is this perfect arc at the top. It's one thing to cut straight lines, but it's hard to make a perfect arc with a uniform radius in granite. But to completely make such an arc in 3D is something else. Look on this side, on top, and on the other side. It is insanely precise. Be honest. Do you think this was handmade? Even using machines, what kind of geometrical knowledge and rock cutting techniques were combined here? Now, why do I think this arc is so amazing? If these chambers were really carved by hand with primitive hammers and chisels 2,200 years ago, there is zero room for error. Imagine a single carver, exhausted after months of work, strikes the hammer just a fraction too hard. If that chisel goes just 1 inch deeper than the blueprint, what has he done? He hasn't just made a mistake. He has terminated the entire project. They would have to abandon the entire cave unfinished. Why? In solid granite, there is no undo button. If he cut 1 extra inch by mistake, he has increased the radius of the arc by 1 inch throughout the cave. We don't intuitively understand the impact of this. If the radius of this arc is 7 feet, adding just 1 extra inch to that radius means he would have to carve 265 square inches extra, almost 2 square feet of area. But I'm just calculating the 2-dimensional area on this particular surface, and this is a 3-dimensional chamber about 15 feet long. So, we shouldn't calculate area, we should calculate how much extra volume a 1 inch radius creates if this arch extends for 15 feet. A whopping 47,000 cubic inches of granite must be removed. If you can't visualize this, here's a gallon of milk. Now imagine 206 gallons of milk stacked in a store. Now that's how much granite you have to remove if you cut 1 extra inch by mistake. By the way, this is more than 2 tons of solid granite in terms of weight. So if these chambers were created manually using chisels and hammers, and if the ancient carver made just a 1-inch mistake in the radius of this chamber, he would have to remove an extra 4,500 pounds of solid granite by hand just to fix the symmetry. So, in creating monolithic structures like this, there is no room for mistakes at all. While constructing a normal structure like a house, if you placed a few extra bricks by mistake, you can always remove them and rebuild that particular wall. Or, if you made a hole by mistake, you can add some cement to patch it up. But nothing was added to these caves. These 2 chambers were not created by adding materials. They were created by scooping out the existing granite rock. So, if you make one little mistake while creating this, you may have to abandon the entire structure. So, how did ancient builders achieve this level of digital precision, executing a 3D plan so perfect? It looks like it was rendered by a computer. So far, there's no evidence of man-made imperfections, right? But let me show you this just outside the doorway. Look at these crude inscriptions. Archaeologists claim these were carved by the same masters who built these advanced chambers. And right away, look at the position of the writing. It's not even in the center of this wall. And look at the angle at which the writings are going. It's not even going straight at a 180-degree angle. Did ancient builders who cut everything precisely in granite not know how to write properly and in a straight line on the same wall? Be honest and ask yourself, do you really believe that the builders who made this cave wrote this inscription? See how the writing ends here abruptly. According to mainstream experts, this writing is the only evidence that this structure was built 2,200 years ago. But even to a layman, it is clear that these writings were added later by later generations who lacked this advanced technology. Think about it. What about this writing below? You don't think this is original, right? What about this below that? Again, clearly not original. In fact, you can see how later generations have caused some damage to the original structure. Look at the edges here. All these imperfections outside the doorway and at the very entrance were all damage made by later generations. Even in the doorways, you can see people scribbling their names in several different places. It's a timeless human flaw. If you can't build it, you claim it. We see this today in every office and on every social media platform. Someone does the genius work and someone else rushes to put their name on it. Is it possible we are looking at the oldest case of stolen credit in human history? But if we admit that these random scribbles are just the work of later squatters, then where do we draw the line? Are we really supposed to believe that every other scratch is mindless graffiti, but these specific inscriptions at the top are the absolute truth? Why are we treating these 2 inscriptions at the top as sacred history? Is it possible the very evidence used to dig this cave is also pieces of ancient graffiti left behind by people who had no idea how the structure was actually built? The evidence is in the details. Look at how the stone has shattered around every letter of this inscription. This is the result of a primitive metal punch, a low-tech tool that has no place in a high-tech chamber. To suggest the same masters who created these impossible rooms also made these primitive marks is a joke. This is clearly inferior work added by a group of people who found these caves long after the original builders were gone. Who are the true masters of the Nagarjuni Caves? But before we go any further, do you see any other cave nearby? Some claim there are 7 chambers hidden in these boulders, like the 7-headed Naga. Look carefully. Do you see the 3rd cave? I will show it to you in my next video. Subscribe now because you won't want to miss what I found. I'm PraveenMohan. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.